world. A lot of people tune in, and we just enjoy trying to simplify a lot of crypto because when we entered into content creation, there was a lot of people who were quite high up on knowing crypto, and there wasn't a lot of channels which explained it in a simpler way. So that was kind of how we got started.
Wow, that's very nice. Thank you so much, Michael, and of course,
Thank you.
John and Brogan. Thank you all for taking our time to be part of what we're doing here. It is a wonderful day, and I think we all know as a community in Gate, Ohio, we're very much particular, right, about getting crypto literacy right all around and giving more room for you know throughout the entire Earth or global adoption in every sense of the word. So no matter the quota anyone is bringing on board, it's definitely, you know, encouraging and fostering, the blockchain education and also allowing continuous utility as much as that's required. So once again, I want to say you're welcome. Please let's feel at home. It's going to be a wonderful session. I think it's also important I state there's going to be awards and I should state the rules of these awards. Yes, so it is in our interest to ensure that live streamers or live viewers who are joining us should ensure they're sticking to this live session for at least 10 minutes because that gets them to have VIP plus one that's going to be lasting for 14 days after the live session. And aside from that, there's going to be, awards like airdrops and red packets that will be distributed by the Gate Live admins during the live session. And that aside, we also have about 5 winners that will be, chosen, right? Maybe through their UIDs, because you also have to comment your UIDs so that you'll be chosen, right, to stand a chance to grab some airdrops. So yeah, I think it's a good one to start this whole discussion, and everything is, in my opinion, making every bit of sense. So well, I hope we are still very much together, and then we are ready for the whole, shall I say, vibing or the questioning. Okay, so I'll start with what we have here. I know Mike is ready on Brogan, and of course John. And then I think whichever way we want to go, maybe Brogan starting, Mike starting, or John, anyone. I'll just start with the news recap. We have a lot of odd topics and trending topics. Of course, backstage we already began, deliberating already and started discussion. I want to begin with let me say, Mike, what do you think, right, is been trending and is the most recent update within the crypto space that you think you want to share in a couple of minutes? Yes, the floor is yours, Mike.
Trending
A
news.
trending thing in crypto.
I think for me, before we get on to Bitcoin and before we get on to Ethereum, which we're going to do later on XRP, the one that stands out for me would be Dogecoin. I mentioned this backstage to John and yourself and Brogan, and
Yeah.
for me, the biggest bit of news coming out was 2 days ago when Elon Musk released the video saying that X was going to be the everything app. And for me, that means payments, microtransactions, tipping, everything you can think of to do with a copy of WeChat that they have in China. So from my point of view, the question is Elon Musk going to create his own coin? Is he going to create X coin? Or is he going to adopt his favorite coin, which is Dogecoin? And I think the answer was given yesterday or the day before. He came out and he said that that X was Doge friendly, which I think was a hint that Dogecoin is going to be the adopted tipping currency of X. Now, from my point of view, we've done Doge on our stream yesterday, which we streamed on Gate.io, and we went through all of the news to do with Doge. We went through the news about X. We went through the charts. We looked at some previous levels that we think Doge needs to get to. And we've kind of seen a floor of about 6 cents, and we think that 9 cents to about 12 cents is a good short-term target for Doge. But none of that means anything if X adopts Doge. And Altcoin Daily said 2 days ago, he expects Doge to get to $1 to $5. Now, I said on the stream yesterday that That was never going to happen. The reason being that at $1.40, it would have the market cap of Ethereum, and at $3.30, it would have the market cap of Bitcoin. So they are very long-term targets for Doge. And in the short term, we're looking at maybe 20 to 30 cents, which would give it the market cap of XRP, which has obviously also recently had a pump up. So for me, the hot topic of the next couple of weeks could be Dogecoin, because anything that comes out from Elon Musk relating to X and Doge is going to see that coin absolutely skyrocket. So that's pretty much what I think is the next big bit of big news. And as well, we've got so much negativity to come that I think Doge could separate itself from the market. So if we do see a retraction in Bitcoin and Ethereum, Doge could detach for a period of time and maybe do a 3 or 4x from here. I hope that covers Doge for you.
Okay, that's actually, you actually did justice to Dogecoin. Yeah, I actually read the news concerning what's actually happening on X, on formerly known as Twitter, on what's actually happening and all that. Well, for me, I actually believe that looking at the market itself, you will notice that based on, if you notice what actually happened in the market, most of those projects, they follow the trend of the Bitcoin market. Now, it's based on what the Bitcoin actually does. Like, okay, for example, few days ago, was it yesterday, before yesterday, you saw Bitcoin went on the rise. Now, most of these projects, you saw that they also, in a daytime frame, if you're looking at it in a daytime frame, you can see some of them gave 2%, 3%. The coin, the market was actually bullish few days ago. But right now, you said bullish, the market is actually coming down a little. Bitcoin is around, if I'm not mistaken, the Bitcoin market is around 26,000 thereabout. I see most of those projects are actually coming down. So it all depends on the way the Bitcoin market plays out, the ETH market, the way it plays out, and other. Even though the Bitcoin market is the way Bitcoin market plays out, that is what ETH will actually follows, and other projects will actually follow. So let's just watch out for the Bitcoin market to see how it's actually going to play out. You can see currently where the market is currently. And my boss said here that the market is still coming down to $20, I'll be 20,000 thereabout. And remember, we're actually expecting the halving to actually come on board next year, 2024. So, and if you notice the market, this has been the longest bear period that we've noticed. I stand to be corrected. For me, I've noticed that the market has actually been the longest bear market that we've actually noticed. So, are we still going to see the halving next year? That is now the actual question, because looking at when the halving started from, looking at what we've seen in the market and what we're actually seeing now, we predict that, okay, when the market got to around 27 thereabouts, okay, we said that, okay, if the market gets around 27, my prediction was that yesterday or thereabout, I said if the market can get to around 27, then we'll see a beginning of an uptrend move in the market. But that's never happened. We saw it happen the other way around, that we actually see kind of this. So a lot of factors, and I don't know if and we know that financial institutions are the one that actually controls the market. Now, are we saying the waves of the market, these people, they are not involving funds, they are removing out funds? I don't want to mention the person, we had someone actually removed, trying to convert Bitcoin into another different exchange and all that, another different coin and all that. I don't want to mention the name. So a lot of factors is actually something that we should consider when looking at the market itself. So these are actually the next big news. What is Bitcoin? What's actually wrong with Bitcoin itself? Now, is this what we actually, if it's most analysts that will tell you that they don't, if we were sincere with ourselves, what we're actually currently seeing is not what we actually predict that will actually happen if we're actually sincere with ourselves. Because looking at last year, looking at what actually happening last year, upper last year, and looking at how the trend has actually been over time, is actually a new wave that we're actually noticing. So that is just my own personal view about the market and all that. Thank you so much.
Wow, like wrapping my head around the knowledge that is being, that is bubbling. It's like lava, honestly. So, yeah, a lot is really being discussed here from the wonderful fundamental and technical perspective the Mike has. And I really reason with that, owing to the fact that we all know how Elon is, right, when it comes to his kind of personality, right? With cryptocurrency and of course Hex platform now, previously known as Twitter, he is such a very, very, will I say very, very strategic investor that if you're not really, really smart, you won't know how it's when it's taking the chess move, right? And then if you're not also very sensitive, you don't know how to get along earlier. So yeah, definitely there's a lot with Dogecoin which people who are not keeping tune with the market might not be aware of. And then thanks to John, who made much emphasis on the market's volatility and the uncertainty that Bitcoin, and of course how its dominance is going to be influencing the market's outturn. That even Doge itself, it's more or less going to be depending on BTC's price action, and how the well, I said the shenanigan that Bitcoin is putting up is not yet making the entire market's direction very clear. So that's a lot really for me, and I think network. Oh, fine. I think we're very much back together. I'm trying to see what that is exactly. Oh, did I just have network distortion?
Okay,
Sorry.
I think
Yeah.
we can actually just continue. We can actually just continue. So, what do you actually feel about what I just said concerning the market? What is your own view?
Do you want me
So
to
sorry.
cover the coin thing?
We
Because
had the breaking network.
I've done it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever your opinion is, probably my opinion.
Okay.
But if I need to,
So I completely agree that the second that Bitcoin jumps, everything follows. We know that. Now, I tried to pick 3 things that are going to affect the Bitcoin price moving forward. The first one is obviously the ETF approvals, which are currently with the SEC. And I can't remember if it's today or next Friday, we're expecting the decision from the SEC. And everybody is going to say that they're going to be delayed. Now, I have 2 theories about that. Either the price drop that we've just seen is pricing in the delay in ETF approval, or we haven't seen that yet. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is to do with the RSI is coming down on the weekly and it's coming down on the daily. I'm not going to. John knows more about this than I do. He's a proper technical analyst. We're part-timers, but the RSI is coming down. And then the third thing that's going to affect it is Chairman Powell. Now, the inflation rate in America is just started to creep back up. And because of that, I'm not expecting him to turn dovish anytime soon. I'm expecting him to stay very hawkish, and he is speaking this afternoon. And the market dip, the slight dip that I think we've seen in the last few hours, is because they're not expecting positive news from Chairman Powell. So the three things for me are those 3 things.
Okay, now based on what you just said, now we're actually factoring the SEC coming on board, because I actually don't know the reason why seems as if it's a decision of the SEC that actually maybe the court's decision that actually will predict the movement. If you remember, Ripples actually, when they won their case in the courts, that was when you noticed the price that there was a pump in the market in the Ripples, if you notice it. So are we actually saying that the market is actually is moved, or is it the fear of losing out, or what is it a SEC that actually trying to take control of the market? Because a lot of projects and other, I don't actually want to mention the project. A lot of projects you will notice that the SEC are actually fighting, trying to do, even though the US actually having issue with some projects and other. So all this, I feel all this can actually be one of the factors that is actually causing the movement of the market. That there's actually now there is not actually a kind of a stable decision on, okay, the market, this is how we want to go. Because even though we know that right now we're actually expecting right now that the market should have been getting to kind of like we should know the fate of the market by now, because we're actually in the middle of the year already. But we don't actually know, because SEC is actually moving on their own direction. Projects actually coming on board, but they have no this thing on board. So all those factors are actually my own view about what's going when it comes to the market and all that. So I don't know.
All right, so I think it's a whole lot, right, to begin to wrap our heads around it. Because when we begin to think about the fundamental perspective that the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has over cryptocurrency, we just begin to sort of wonder a how a market maker they are becoming. So it's a funny one that I think we must only factor many important details into if we'll be realistically drawing conclusions that will be applicable to the price actions and the directions of different baskets or assets in the cryptocurrency yeah, niche. Yeah, so I think that for us is also a bone of contention. And thanks to Mike and John for sharing so wonderfully and excellently on that. Well, what about if I would ask the about the core finance, the recent hack that took place on core finance and about $62 million dollars, right? It was the hack that happened this month. And could we
Yeah.
say, could we, okay, yeah, all right, John, thank you. You can go.
Okay, about the hack, we noticed that they actually they were lucky enough
All right.
to get I think 70% of the funds back after the 79. Sorry, they were able to actually get
Yeah, about
there
70%, yeah.
was almost 80% of their funds back, and I will actually say they were actually lucky enough. And the people behind them, I mean, the developers and all the team actually did a lot because they were actually very quick. Because if it took, I believe that what actually happened was that if they actually like delayed a little bit, that funds would have been totally gone. And they're actually trying to recover a little bit of the fund. They're trying to say, okay, we like check the addresses where the money was sent to and all that. Which let's hope how that goes. And they said that okay, they are going to refund the money. They're going to distribute it to different wallets that has been affected and all that. So that is also is actually a good. That is why we talked about more of regulations, and that is one that I think that is one thing that the SEC also actually trying to fight. Now, regulation is actually a key factors when coming to all these platforms and all that. Now, we know that okay, when we're talking about the blockchain, talks about security, immutability, and all that, but in one point in time, it's not something that is not actually actable. It's something that it can still be act. We have some geniuses that they are very good in hacking stuff. So it's one point that we need to know, and it's actually a very, very good point when it comes to rebossing. That means they actually the confidence actually shows that they're actually transparent, because not all companies will actually tell you that okay this money was actually recovered back. We want to distribute this percentage. We last year we noticed some companies or some project that got hacked, and after that they went off. You get, even
Yeah,
though without them
yeah.
being hacked, they actually went off, and I actually don't want to be mentioning it. We know them already. So, but this, and we all know that this core finance actually is a decentralized finance, as we all know, and other. So, and the accept the loss was around $62 million
Yeah.
losses they actually had in the impact of it in the market. And they were able to still get up to 79%, which is actually a huge this thing from recovering back into the market. So that is just my view about the market and all that, and the fact that they are actually working to actually reimburse money back to their users is actually a welcoming idea, and it shows how transparent their ecosystem are.
All right, thank you so much, John, for sharing on core finance. That I think is so on point, and yes, it's already nailed the whole discussion on the news around core finance and the hack, and of course, it also gives us informations about the reimbursement strategy that the decentralized protocol already onboarded, and that also made a lot of clarity known as regards the one of the important ethos of cryptocurrency, which is transparency and of course decentralization. So, well, I think we are still discussing under the ambience of the trending altcoins, and we began with Doge. Shout out to Mike for beginning that, and yes, we are still all under these major discussions. So, can I ask a question quickly about XRP before we dive right onto another news, because I think I begin to see questions in the live room, because I mean audience want to ask questions, but I think we just have to finish the presentation, then we'll begin taking questions. I think that's cool, and I hope we are fine with that, right?
Yeah, we're okay with
Yeah, thank you. So please, I want to
this.
ask, what do we think about Ripple Labs? And John already began talking about that when he mentioned when they won their part case the other time, and of course that resulted in the green that the market experienced some weeks ago. So what do we think about Ripple Labs? What do we think about XRP? It's currently trading at $0.53 thereabout. What do we think about that particular token? Yes, maybe Michael. Anyone can go first. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've studied.
you're the crypto class. I'm talking about the technology side.
Brogan is our technical expert. So everything to do with AI and NFTs and everything like that, he's the expert. I made a video about XRP about 2 months ago, just before the case came to fruition, and people at the time were calling for $689 or $15, whatever else it might
Yeah.
be. SRP. And one of the things that obviously Brogan mentioned before is that we're trying to educate newcomers to the market, and filling their heads with these unrealistic prices damages more than anything. So the video I made very simply said that if they win the case, it will get to $1 to $1.50 and then probably retrace slightly. We hit 94 cents. And on the last market correction we've just seen, we've seen the price come back down to the price it was at the beginning before they'd won the case. So you have to ask yourself, why has that happened? And why are we now in a situation where we've won the case, but the price is still down? So I'm not going to go into the too technical side of things, because John's the expert here. So from a macro point of view, you have to remember that Ripple Labs have now won the case, and they can now begin to start being listed on all the major exchanges. The liquidity takes time to flow back into the coin. You are seeing huge movements of XRP tokens going around. But don't forget what the fundamental thing that Ripple is trying to do, and that is to integrate itself with the banking system around the world. They've done this quite successfully so far in places like Brazil. They have a long way to go. It's a long-term project.
Yeah.
In terms of short-term price action, it will pump with XRP. So it will pump with Bitcoin. It will pump at the halving. It will pump with the November 2025 high. But look at what documentation around the world. The banking documentation includes Ripple. It includes XRP. It includes the protocols. You also have Quant, which sits alongside, that's also part of the system. It's going to take 5, 6, 7 years to change the banking system that's been there for 30 years. So long term, I am majorly bullish, but don't let anybody tell you it's going to get to $689. Maybe $1.50 is the next short-term target. But then in the bull run, could it hit $4 or $5? Most probably. But I'm not expecting anything in the next couple of months other than to stay with the rest of the market. That would be my argument for XRP. Obviously, John's going to hopefully, from the technical side, look at a bit more.
Surely,
you've actually said it, but if you
yeah, you can go on, please, John. But of
Okay.
course, that was a lot from Mike.
all right, okay. Yeah, you've actually said a lot, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about the market. And one thing you notice, if you check the market today, you will notice that it has actually increased a little bit by 0.30%. Looking at it from the 24-hour in the last 24 hours, it has actually increased 24% and other, I'm sorry, 30%. And one thing I'm actually seeing from this market here, it will still just be around the range of maybe 0.5 around that 0.5, we actually see to 0.50, that means $0.50 to around 0.5, maybe 554. It's actually going to be ranging around those area in the market in this coming weeks to come. So in coming weeks to come, I don't see Ripple's being bullish, but in a longer time frame, because of they are actually now, before you invest in any project, is you have to understand the utility behind the project, what is the use cases behind the project, and all those factors are actually what you put in place before you actually go into any project. What is the use cases? Now, who are the investors? Are investors ready to come into the project to invest? Are they able to withstand are they able to withstand the strength of time? All those factors actually what you consider when looking at any project. So based on what I can actually see in the coming weeks, the market is still going to be ranging at a range of maybe 0.5, that means 0.50 to 0.54, but it's moving up to $2 in coming weeks. I don't see that actually, but in a longer time frame, when looking at it in a longer time frame, based on what they've actually put on ground, based on the project, based on the partnership, based on other form of business that is actually going to come on board to partner with them, investors, the utility of the project and all that, then we're actually going to see it get to around maybe $1.5 to $2 in coming years, maybe next year or towards the ending of it. Depends on how fast they actually push it. So that is my view. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's a lot. I don't know if Brogan also wants to contribute to that. I don't know. Do you?
What's anything about XRP?
Like I said, I'm more of the technologist. So, for example, with Curve, I could have talked about the compiler. I understood that part, but with XRP, like heavy crypto news like that, I'm not the guy for that. But
It's all right.
yeah,
So
I can talk about it.
it's okay. Thank you so much. Well, all the same, I really appreciate Mike's fundamental perspective. He was so definite, right, in nailing it on the head and stating that it's high time we left bringing people to the overbloated idea of that well, XRP is going to hit $100 in the next couple of months, and those necessary overbloated and catalyzed excitement often make people who should learn more about technology and the utility lose real hands on the spot. Like there's no practical reality, right? There's so much overbloated talk right in the head about crypto. So I think yes, it's the reality. So there were questions you begin to ask, why this after the court, why that, and then the price is still like this, the price, and all of those are probing questions. So we all can face reality of why are we getting into some project, why are we buying into XRP, and then thanks to John who also gave us some very very higher and lower time frames analysis that brings the whole price action of XRP into perspective, so that even when we actually hit the bull run, people can actually face reality when it comes to the price actions that we should be expecting from XRP and the entire altcoin market generally. So I think that is a whole lot for us, and we've had such a very very close contacts and then heart-to-heart discussion for the past 30 minutes literally. I think we should also focus on asking ourselves this other question, which is about Bitcoin and price, Bitcoin and Ethereum price slump, the recent dump, and then the recent sort of lack in clarity. Or, I don't know how to put it right away now. I mean, this sort of non-directional, price action Bitcoin is printing on the chart. So what do we want to say about that? I mean, BTC and Ethereum, either from the technical or the fundamental perspective, what do you want to say is maybe a cause or maybe a contributing factor to why the price is just unclear, sort of? Yeah. Maybe John will go first, I think.
Okay, now looking at to be sincere, looking at the Bitcoin market and looking at the ETH. Let me first start from the ETH market.
Yeah.
Now, if you notice, the ETH market is actually, the price of the ETH is actually struggling to rise above 100 and 700. $100 and $700 against the dollar in the market. Now, and also if you see the waves, like the waves on the market, it seems to be accumulative, and it's actually support when looking at the market, it's actually supporting around 1,620 support. That could actually be the key area in the market. So all this now, looking at the level area, looking at where the market is, and also there's actually a connected bearish trend forming with resistance near. That is, if you look at the chart, there's actually a kind of a connected bear trend forming with the resistance near 1,665. Looking at it in an hourly time frame and other. So all those factors, you can see that there is no a kind of an adequate move in the market. And like I said earlier, what actually most times, now, technical analysis is actually very, very important when looking at the market, but also the news surrounding the market is actually one important factors that we must all consider. Now, looking at issue with SEC, now investors are here. There was actually, if you check the relative strength index, and you will notice that a lot of people were actually between time that we saw the market went down, and there was actually a sell-off in the market. And I told someone that the market is now looking at what has actually happened from the beginning of the year to this particular moment. The market is less volatile than the way it usually is before. And there's a reason why the market is actually less volatile, because there is yet to be a kind of adequate decision being made about, okay, should the market go down or should the market go up? So there is actually yet to be kind of a definite system because of the news. A lot of people have this fear of losing out from the market. So based on my analysis, and based on the way I'm looking at the market, it's actually still going to come down based on the way Bitcoin is right now. It's actually definitely still going to come down to get a kind of a position for it to actually push. You get. So when it's come down, I'm just waiting for it to say, okay, well, that is why most people actually are not really trading like that, or exactly, unless if you are more of a kind of a day trader or something. That is when you actually say, okay, in a kind of in 1 hour, this is where the market's actually going to go to, in a day, this is how the market's actually going to. But try to hold in a project or hold in, no, a lot of people are actually watching what's next in Bitcoin, what next is actually going to happen in Bitcoin. And funny part, we've seen a lot of things that's actually happening in the market over time. Looking at the Bitcoin market, looking at what has actually happened in the Bitcoin market, and we actually, some people say, oh, why is ETH actually following the trend of Bitcoin? Now, if Bitcoin went down, ETH actually went down. But if you notice, the ETH market is not going down like the way the Bitcoin market goes down. You understand that? So it's actually trying to fight. Like it's just like a war zone. It's just like a war zone, something like that. So we just need to understand the market, knowing fully, apart from the technical analysis, because most times we technical analysis and all that, we tend to we do all our charts, and at the end of the day, it doesn't go that way. Not because we are not actually good in the technical analysis part, but because of the news factor. Now, the news factor has a larger role to play in the market than even though the technical part of the market. Most traders, most people, fundamental analysis will tell you that there's actually a struggle between which is more important, the technical analysis or the fundamental analysis. But I'll actually tell you that fundamental analysis is actually very, very important, because you are up to date about what is actually happening in the market. When looking at the technical analysis, it gives you understanding about the charts. What next is the price going to be? What is the next action of price action and all that? But the real information about the market, you will get it from looking at the fundamental view about the market. So looking at the ETH and the Bitcoin market, I'm actually still expecting more dip in the coming days to come. Seriously, I'm actually very serious with that. Based on what I can actually let me bring out based on what I can actually see here, I'm actually still expecting some dip in, maybe it's coming down, also breaking the line, maybe coming down to around 25. When we have 25 here, come down to 24 thereabouts in the market, then we might likely see some little bit of push in the market. But it's actually trying to find an area in which is actually going to push. Now, if it has not gotten to that level in which investors are able, because it's all about gaining from the market. Investors can actually come into the market and without them gaining. For investors to actually come into the market, now what they actually do is that they will set off when they get to a kind of a level, then they will start buying. You get, so they'll start buying and looking at the fact that absolutely no matter what is like, no matter what the market actually up, what no matter what is actually happening in the market, one thing I'm sure of is that the halving is actually coming on board next year. I don't know how it's actually going to be. I don't know when, but I know next year I'm sure the halving is coming up. Also, it's something that you should actually look out for, and there's actually going to be a massive pump in the market. Based on no matter what's actually happening now, if everything will actually come back together and we'll actually see a massive pump in the market. So that is just the few things I will say. Let me hear from my boss. So I will actually add one or two things.
Yeah, to the boss. All right. I don't know if Mike has one or two things to say about maybe fundamentally, but the reason why Bitcoin price has just been so uncertain, unclear, just so back and forth, and like John says, sort of struggling and fighting like Ethereum, struggling with support, and it's trying to find a way out to break out. So I don't know if you have any reason, maybe in any way that you think it could be a factor, right, defining why the price is currently struggling with 26K. Yeah.
I didn't catch that for me. Was that for me or for John?
Yeah, for you. John just spoke.
Oh, okay. So, I agree with John. There's going to be a dip. If you go back over the last 4-year cycles that we've had, we've come down, we've gone sideways before the halving in the last previous 2 4-year cycles. So it's natural for the markets to come down about now. Now, I've looked at the charts, and I think that now we're due to come down and go sideways until I think the end of October, beginning of November, and then we might start to see a recovery. And that's based solely on looking at the previous cycles. Now, everybody says the same thing. This time it's different. This time it's different. In the case of Ethereum, it is actually different. And the reason being is that the last halving, we had proof of work. Ethereum was proof of work, and now we're proof of stake.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Proof of work was inflating the amount of Ethereum in the market, the same way that Bitcoin is producing 3% inflation in Bitcoin. Ethereum was producing the same, if not more, in Ethereum. We're now at proof of stake. And over the last 6 months, 8 months, we've actually seen a reduction in the number of Ethereum. And that's during a bear market. Imagine what's going to happen to deflation in Ethereum when we hit the bull run. It's quite scary to think about it. So this time it is different for Ethereum. Now, my 2 price predictions, I'm not going to go off on one of my monologues. My 2 price predictions for Ethereum, I think we might hit 1450 as the next leg down. And I see us hitting the psychological barrier of $1,000. And the reason I say we're going to hit $1,000 is I'm not the greatest technical analyst in the world. I look at the macro, and then I look at the psychology of things. And for me, the psychological barrier is $1,000 for Ethereum. And you mentioned a minute ago about when are people going to be buying in to Ethereum. I think people are going to look at $1,000 Ethereum and think, it got to $5,000 in the last bull run. If I buy it at $1,000 now, I'm going to make 5 times my money. It's simple maths. Whereas if it sticks at 1450, it's hard for people to think, well, I don't know if it's going to keep going down or not. So from Ethereum's point of view, this bull run is going to be different. The price potentially is going to go a lot higher. The problem is, if you look at the Bitcoin Ethereum chart, it doesn't look good for Ethereum. It's been losing against Bitcoin now for what, 6-8 months. So what's going to change that? I can't see anything at the minute that's going to change that. And if Bitcoin does pump because of the ETF's approval or whatever it might be, what's the reason that Ethereum's going to follow it? Because all of the liquidity will go into Bitcoin. So for me, short term, which is September, October, November, I see maybe 1,400, maybe 1,000 if it's really bad. And don't forget, BlackRock doesn't want to buy a $32,000 Bitcoin. BlackRock wants to buy a $20,000 Bitcoin. So There's other things to take into account. I've just turned your monitor off, haven't I? So there's other things to take into account outside of crypto that can affect the prices. So short term, I'm quite bearish on Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I'm probably less bearish on Ethereum because it's changed to proof of stake and it's become deflationary. So I'm less bearish than I would have been had it not changed from proof of work.
All right.
And you also know that,
Yeah.
you also know that the SEC issue is having with the Ethereum futures based ETF. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's that also will actually also affect the Ethereum market, because if they are actually approved, then it might not actually follow the trend of the Bitcoin at the end of the day. You will have to. That is also one point that we should actually take note of the market, and also all these things have to do with what the market is saying, what is the news around the market, and all that. So whether positive or negative, and anything now based on the ETH market now, based on the ETH and all that. Now it depends on what the SEC actually says, or that will actually depend. Okay, this is where the market is going and all that. And I know some people will actually tell you that they prefer to trade ETH than trading Bitcoin. Most traders will actually tell you that they prefer to actually trade the ETH market than the Bitcoin, because the ETH market is looking more promising than Bitcoin himself, because the ETH market has actually what ETH are actually doing. They're actually looking for loopholes in the Bitcoin market and actually trying to fix it. That is what just the ETH is trying to do. There is just where I'll call the ETH advanced Bitcoin, if I'm using the right word, advanced Bitcoin, because is what the Bitcoin market is just like. It's created just like the Bitcoin market, but they just try to advance it in a kind of an advanced way, and that's why they move from the proof of work to the proof of stake and order. So sometimes the ETH market might not actually move the way the Bitcoin market moves, and sometimes happen that way. But we should also consider the market and what's actually happening in both sides before we actually make decision. And you're actually right about your prediction price, about what you see in the ETH market. You're looking at the market and all that. Thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you so much, John and Mike. It's a lot, and I think trying to find meaning with how this is going to be impacting the crypto market today is sort of sinking a part of me in questions. I'm serious, because like Mike says, Paul is going to speak today, and that's going to be 2 p.m. UTC. And I think we should be expecting some impact on the dollar index, right? And that should definitely have ripple effect on Bitcoin generally. We are having a lot of perspective, the macro perspective and the technical perspective, fundamental perspective, and the realistic truth that BlackRock and majority of these big financial institutions would not want to buy expensive crypto ETFs or whatever it is. They want to just find a way to just, quote and unquote, saying the word carefully now, drive or engineer market liquidity into a creepy zone of buying. And it is what it is. It is what it is. That's how it is. That's a game of Wall Street, I assume. But it's important for all of us to know that just as both of these wonderful speakers have shared, that we must really be also be speculative, and also be at the same time ready. If you want to begin to invest, let that be on your own decision. These are not financial advices. It's all based on what individual streamer and of course speakers I've seen in the markets, and then they are also considering major psychological levels and many reasons, which definitely defines their own conclusion as regards what's going to be with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Mike made it clear that it's possible for us to see 1,400 Ethereum, or towards $1,000 Ethereum, or and then John was like 25k or even a little bit lower, and yes, we might even see almost 20k for BTC. It's just to trigger fear, sideway movement, and a potential rise in Q4 this same year. There's there is expected, halving that John made mention of, and I want to reiterate that. And it's so funny, but all the same, all of these are sort of going to work hand in hand to still bring up the bullish psychology when it's the time that the market makers want it to be. So let's just be very, very safe, in my own opinion, and invest in what we saw now. Well, that, I think, is already bringing us to the top of the hour, where we're going to be wrapping the whole discussion up. And I think I would still want to ask both speakers at the end, right, what they think they want to share, 2 or 3 things they want to say before we wrap it up. But I think I would ask 1 or 2 questions before that time. Yeah, I believe we are fine and we are cool with that, right? Yes, thank you so much. So I would
Yeah.
love to ask, we've discussed a lot about major altcoins, and we've spoken about news recap, and I want to just ask if is there one coin you think you want to make use as a reference, right, to bring your analysis or your chart analysis on one of the altcoins aside from the ones we've mentioned? That's going to be the final discussion, I assume, from our end. One altcoin you have in your mind and you think you want to use whatever analysis it is, that chart, technical, fundamental, to just use to speak on altcoins, right? I think I want us to think on that. I want to say something before I throw the floor for our discussion. Like, when we had LTC halving, for me, in my whole mind, I was thinking, well, we should see the market turning green, but LTC halving really led to LTC dumping, and it was so unusual in my whole opinion. But I just want to ask, is there one altcoin you think you want to just technically or fundamentally, or whichever we analyze right here, or just make a little discussion about? Yes, maybe John goes first. Yeah.
Okay, I will just let my boss go first, and I will come up on
Okay.
that. Okay, well, let me just say, I'm actually currently holding a coin that is well, let me check it out. That is Luna, not the Luna. That is
Long.
LUNC. I'm
Terra.
actually currently. Oh, is that it?
Terra long, yeah.
Yeah, Terra Long. I'm currently holding it currently, and I believe that currently the market price is actually down because of the way we all know that the way the Bitcoin market goes, and there's actually a lot of factors that we need to consider when looking at the market and other. But potentially, let me check my analysis here. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, now potentially, now looking at the market and all that, I'm actually expecting is a coin that people don't actually, because of what is actually happening in the market, and they're actually having an issue right now in the court and all that, which I believe is actually going to be won, and a lot of factors that is currently is actually currently at 0.00 thereabouts. But I'm actually looking at the market still recovering to coming back to. I'm looking at 0.03. We're actually going to be the all-time high of the market. Immediately, Bitcoin push well. That means towards next year, towards the end of the year next year. So that is one factor I'm actually looking at. So if I'm actually analyzing, I say I can't share my screen here. So if I'm actually analyzing any project, I'm actually looking at this token for a push in the market in coming months to come.
All right, thank you for sharing on Long LUNC, which was the defunct Terra native token after the old. Yeah, I think it's it's actually something that would be off the eyes of major people, and it's a possibility for that same coin to just go totally green. Thank you so much. I don't know if Mike has one or two to share quickly. Yeah, almost done.
Yeah, I've got 2 coins actually that I have been tracking now for 4 or 6 months, something along those lines. One of them is Fetch AI, or FET, and the second is Singularity, which is Ajax.
Yeah.
And both of these coins are AI coins. And the reason that I personally hold them, we personally hold them as Crypto Warehouse, that's full disclosure, is that they are both building not quite complementary, but they're not competing AI coins. So FET is working in education, healthcare, and the kind of the more sensible industries. Singularity, Brogan covered it on the stream.
Last stream.
And then what? Looking at, what was it? NFTs, music.
Yeah, it was a library of. It's basically they're building like a library of different AI tools. So like Deezer has their own integration in the platform. So they're partnered with like music companies, for example. So they've got quite a bit of partnerships with some big companies, which is good, always good to see. But it's really cheap, and it allows for developers to build on their platform, and it's more so for the single user to use rather than it to be like an industry thing. But yeah, Singularity is brilliant.
Okay. And then finally, all I was going to say is that they've had their original pump up. They've fallen back probably about 60% since their all-time high. And I think in the next bull run, you have to remember that I go back to this all the time. You have to look at the fundamentals of a project. Is the project going to be here in 5 years' time? The only threat for me to FET and Ajax are a competing AI blockchain project. But the longer it goes without competition, the more that Fetch and Singularity are going to slowly start to dominate the market. And my advice is very simple. Try and create a very small bag of AI tokens that you hold for the next 3 or 4 years. And now is a very good price to get in, because they will suffer. Every time Bitcoin drops 5%, they'll drop 10%. Every time the markets drop 2%, they'll drop 4%. So it's a good time to get into these tokens. They're both established. They're not going to be rug pulls, and they've both got incredible use cases. So Ajax and FET.
Okay. Now, let me just say one or two things concerning that. That is actually good, because any AI project, I actually believe in any AI project is actually going to turn out well. I don't know if you guys have heard about this Islamic coin that actually, and I feel it's actually a very, very good project. It's actually going to be a very, very good project to actually invest in, because what they're actually trying to build, if you check what they're actually trying to build, they're having a lot of partnership concerning the project, and a lot of, I actually look at that token as a very good project to actually look out for. And one thing I do tell people, that before you go into any project, just like what you said, before you go into any project, it's very, very important that you understand the fundamental analysis of that project. That is just the key. Now, what I mean by fundamental analysis of the project is that, what are the people behind the project? What is the project really all about? What is the total supply? What is the accumulated supply? What is their ecosystem really all about? Do they have a community? Now, all these, now, because a lot of projects we have right now, we have almost 23,000 cryptocurrency in the marketplace currently. But not all those cryptocurrency will actually survive. We also actually survive in this bear period. Now we're actually looking at, the boom period. We're actually expecting a lot of coins to actually give us like 100% in the boom period, and that is why some people, most traders that don't actually have large capitals, we actually tell you that, I'm looking at the Bitcoin market, but I'm trading other coins. I'm using other projects. I'm actually investing in other projects. So you use Bitcoin to actually invest in other projects that are actually going to come on board. So we need to actually consider all those factors: the technical, the use cases behind the project, the utility behind the.
Oh, so sorry. The call already ended. I don't know, because it's a, what do we call it? It's a I think it's a, what do we call this version now? It's a basic plan. We'll start all over again, and then open to bring in people right away. So I'll be sending the link right away, and of course, just stay tuned with us. You'll be having, yeah. All right, it was. So we'll see continue. So come on. All right, so sorry. Let's see how this goes. A minute, please. You have to join us. Exercise a little bit of patience. our speakers will definitely you would have a lot of access to this discussion. Please don't wait. That's all I want to say. All right, so let's see how this starts. All right, so come on. Oh, great. So you'll be having access to joining, and I'll definitely have to apologize for shortcomings and so sorry. I hope others can definitely get in right away. So just a little bit, then they'll be right here with us, please. Just 1 or 2 minutes, they'll be right here with us. Thank you so much. We're so sorry. All right, I'm so sorry. I wasn't aware of that, right? Not until we're about to round off. Welcome, boss.
No problem, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I hope Mike can join right in and we can just wrap it off. We're almost done, basically. Like we've gone an hour. I was like, really? Time has gone that fast. Yes.
I can
And
see
I was
everybody.
thinking,
Perfect. We have reappeared, and John has moved to the right.
yeah, we're so sorry. I was thinking Google Meet will actually have us have more time to ourselves. So but I wasn't sure, and then we have that. So sorry. We're back. So please, John was the one talking. Please, you can keep up. It was
Okay. I was actually rounding up. I was actually talking about the market before you invest. AI is actually very good. AI is actually the future. Now, whatever we are doing, so anything AI does, any project that's we are going in AI that actually has a very good use case, actually has a very utility, and also in looking at the AI project. Now, it's not just any. Well, the fact that AI is actually the future is not any kind of AI you actually invest in. Now, that is one point we need to know. It's not any form of AI you actually invest in. But we all know that AI is actually a promising business, actually is the future of tech itself, is the future of tech itself. And in investing in any project, I said earlier that there are some basic factors you must consider. That is the people behind the projects. Now, apart from people behind the project, what is the use cases? Now, what is the community? Because community is everything. Because it's community that's actually going to drive the project that you're actually building. So, if a project you're actually investing in and it doesn't have a community, or you don't know who are the people behind the project, then it's not something to actually invest in. So, all those factors are actually. Now, I was actually looking at it. I wanted to invest actually on Coin Market Cap to actually do review on some projects. Okay, can everyone hear me?
yes, we can. Please go on.
Yeah,
I didn't hear any echo.
I don't hear echo either.
Okay. So I was actually doing a kind of a review on a project to actually get what is. I now discovered that the project I'm actually doing actually copied a kind of the white paper of the project was actually a copied one. It was not their real white paper. So that is actually a red flag. That is actually a red flag. So we need to take note of all this. We need to actually take note of all those factors when going into any project. We need to understand that what is the project really all about? Now, is it a copyright project or is it a real made project and all that? So, and also in any project, they should be able, the investors or the creators should be able to answer any question given to him. Now, I was trying to work on with a guy with he claimed he's the CEO and he came to me and he told me, he wants me to push his project for him over here. And I was trying to ask him some basic questions about the project, how real the project is before I can actually push it, because I can't actually push a project that is not real.
Yeah.
So I was actually trying to check it out. This is what the project is all about and all that. I discovered that this person that claims is a CEO or the founder of the project don't have basic knowledge about the project is actually trying to push.
Wow.
You get so that is one flag. That is actually a big red flag for me, and I just went off. So we need to consider all those factors before we invest into. But well, the choice that the Brown is on its way, closer than we could actually imagine. But we should be very careful of we are actually looking out. We do basic research, real research on the project we're actually looking out for before we invest into it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, John, for that which you've shared with us. And I think, in my own opinion, I must really commend every speaker for sharing so wonderfully well, experientially, and of course detailed. I must appreciate Crypto Warehouse. Shout out to Mike and Braden and Brogan. I'm so glad to have you all right here with us. And I believe our audience here, our audience have one or two to say, and there are questions. Which I think I will need to read out. The first, I noticed Boxer Queen asked a question live room, please. Can you hear me, please? Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Boxer Queen asked that, when will the bull run begin? She asked the question, and I want to just amplify her voice, right? So anyone can actually speak on that. It's a direct question.
You want to go first, John? Or do you want
No,
me to
please,
go
you can actually go first. We all know that the bull run is actually, we are looking at based on what has actually happened in the past, based on what we've actually seen in the past. The bull run is coming up towards next year, but I'm actually looking at maybe middle of next year to the ending of next year, within the middle of next year to the ending, I'm actually looking at the bull run period. But the market around probably before this year runs out, we're actually going to see kind of a move in the market. But the real bull run period they're actually expecting is going to be next year. But you can actually share more light on that.
Thank you so much, John.
Yeah. So, what I would say is that there's three periods in the market. There's the period to sell, and there's the period to buy, and then there's the period to wait and hold on and see what happens. And we've had, as John said before, we've had the longest bear market in history, and it's been brutal. This is my third bear market, and this is the worst one by far, because we're bigger than we were, the market caps are bigger, there's more publicity, it's more in the news, and it's been more visibly brutal. What you should be looking at is, when am I going to start to DCA out of the market? And traditionally, it's normally 18 to 24 months after the halving. So I've penciled in November 2025 for when I think we're going to get near the top of the bull run. Now, again, if you look at patterns, I said before, this is about now we have our dip and our sideways action, and then we start to move up, maybe in November or December. Then we get to the halving, we might have another dip, like we've had in the past, a small dip, and then the supply shock kicks in. And the supply shock kicks in, that's when the FOMO follows, or the fear of missing out follows, and that's when retail comes in. Now, we are not retail. Nobody watching this now is retail. We are the OGs or the DGens, whatever you want to call people that are in crypto for the long run. So for me, I would say, as John's just said, potentially towards the end of next year, we're going to start to see maybe $50,000, maybe $60,000 in Bitcoin as we start to move up. So I agree with John. I think potentially we're going to start to see some results towards the end of next year.
That I actually look at 60. I'm actually looking at 60, 50. I hope so. If all things goes like 60, 50.
Wow, that's a whole lot, I think, in my opinion, which oh wow, I wasn't even noticing that. I mean, well, I think, sorry, can we all hear me, please? Can we hear me?
We can hear you now. Yep.
Oh, great, thank you. So I was saying that
Yep.
great, thank you so much. So I was saying,
We hear you.
What's that, please? Someone saying something, or can I continue?
You can
Oh,
continue.
great, thank you. So I was just saying basically that well, we have listened to the technical and of course macro perspective of how the Bitcoin bull run can actually take out its old on, and that in Mike's word, this is the most brutal bear market we've actually seen in the history of the Bitcoin bull to bear cycle. So I think, well, it's a good one to welcome newbies and those who are new to crypto, and maybe that's a well grounded way to prepare everyone for the bounty the bull run can actually onboard. So yeah, as much as people are more excited about the sweetness that can come with the bull run, facing the reality of what the bear market can actually inject is also another strong one. So, well, I don't know, in 1 or 2 minutes, what would our speaker want to just say to the audience as a will I say lessons, whatever? What is that one thing you want to just tell people, right? Personally, please, the floor is yours. Floor is yours. Yeah, John, you can go first. I mean, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. I wanted him to actually go first, or guys to actually go first,
I wasn't
but no
aware.
problem.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. It's actually okay. One thing I will actually tell everyone listening to us right now is this: don't stay away from the markets. Now, some people will actually tell you that, oh, I'm actually scared of the market. I don't want to go into the market. Then you miss out from when you don't actually know when the boom period is coming. You don't know when the beer period is actually going to end. Now, because when it's only when you stay in the market, it's only when you study the market, that is only when you know that, okay, at this point in time, this is when the brown period is actually going to begin from. But when you stay off the market, you tend to miss out. You tend to be in huge loss because you don't know the exact time that the market is actually going to push up. So my advice to people that don't know the market, we see the market right now going sideways, not going as predicted. But now it's the right time to go into the market. If you're actually looking for the best time to go into the market, now is the right time. Now, the reason why I say now is the right time for you to actually go into the market because you tend to study the market. Now you tend to understand, okay, this is what is actually happening in the market. This is how I can actually take control of the market. Now, it's not the market taking control of you, it's you yourself actually taking control of the market. So let's keep trading on Git.io. If you're yet to start trading any projects, let's study the market, study. We have new projects coming on board each day on Gates.io. So, and there are potential projects that you can actually trade on, looking at it if you are more of a fundamental technical analyst or doing futures and all that. So, you need to understand how you should actually go into the market. So, don't stay off the market, stay in the market and study the market so that it's actually going to pay off in a longer term. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Mike, over to you.
Okay. I've got a simple piece of advice. Make a plan and make a portfolio. And when I mean make a portfolio, I mean set targets and goals for the coins that you want to be holding by the end of the bull run, which is, as I've said, maybe November, December 2025. Whether that be half a Bitcoin, 0.1 of a Bitcoin, 2 Ethereum, 1,000 ADA, whatever that is, make a plan so that between now and potentially April, May next year, you can get to those goals. You can DCA in between now and maybe December into all of those coins. So when you hear people say, are you ready for the bull run? You've made the plan. Now, if the price of Bitcoin is $26,000 today and $20,000 on October the 1st, it doesn't matter because your goal is 2.5 years or 2 years away from now. It doesn't matter. Forget the noise and the panic and the worry and the stress. It's just people trying to shake you out of your cryptocurrency and panic you because they want cheaper prices. So make a plan and make a portfolio of coins that you think are going to do a 10x or a 5x or a 2x, whatever it's going to be between now and the end of 2025. And don't worry about what happens in October or September or if John or myself or Brogan say it's going to go to 18,000, don't worry about any of that, because all you're going to do is sell in 2 years' time anyway. So just make a plan, make a portfolio, and stick to it.
Wow, that's actually a whole lot, right? And I must really appreciate everyone for stating this, important advice, so that traders, investors, whoever you are, can definitely learn from. So, Mike was so, firm in stating that you must make a plan, make a portfolio, right? You must actually avoid the noise and just, just stick to your plan, and just be so focused, since you're not selling anytime soon. So whatever the price actions of Bitcoin, that wouldn't even disrupt you. And John was so firm in saying, no matter what happens in crypto, stay in crypto. I mean, just stay there. Don't think something, someone, some news is gonna, make you lose your guard. So be so focused, stick on trading here in Gate, Ohio. And we're so glad to have these important, wonderful streamers sharing insightful and, um, strong thought leaders perspective on the blockchain, cryptocurrency, trending altcoins, and bringing insight from the recent market news, and giving us tips, and of course potentially giving us OG calls and coins that I think people can definitely look out for, right? And of course they even went as far as touching artificial intelligence, AI, and of course things beyond the scope of this discussion, which only demonstrate their wealth of experience. Shout out to Brogan for his his also insightful contribution. I really appreciate that. So I think with that being said, it's wonderful and nice having you all around, and I want to say thank you, and have a wonderful day, right? And have the best of it. It's great having you all aboard. We look forward to having this other session some other time. So please stick to Great.io, keep using, keep trading, keep investing, and keep learning. That's the game. It's the game. Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye. Yeah, bye. Bye. Bye.